John Green, an award-winning author, once said, "Grief doesn't change you, it reveals you."
Complicated grief is a problem many people face all around the world. 15 to 20% of people who lose a loved one will experience complicated grief.
According to existing research, 21 to 54% of people with complicated grief will face depression and even post-traumatic stress disorder.
During these unfortunate and unforeseen times, due to COVID-19, complicated grief has become even more of a crucial idea because so many people are losing loved ones. We as a community should support each other by understanding how to combat and deal with complicated grief. One important thing to remember when facing grief is that it is okay to feel upset, but make sure that you get the help that you need.
Complicated grief is a very traumatic and stressful moment. It is a time when a very sad event occurs, such as a loved one dying.
Complicated grief occurs when the normal symptoms of grief do not go away. Some symptoms of complicated grief include but are not limited to numbness, depression, not having the ability to carry out daily tasks, and losing interest in the things you love.
Along with these symptoms of complicated grief, a person also goes through the general stages of grief, which include denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Together as a group, we have created a solution to deal with complicated grief in our school and community. So what is our solution?
In order to get our solution, we used a lobster pot model, starting off with 9 possibilities and eventually narrowing it down to 1. That one solution includes 6 parts: a half-day seminar, a workshop, finding it in the real world, seeking guidance from a professional, a diagnostic test, and a personalized solution.
Every person deals with grief differently, and with our proposed plan, each person is able to have a specialized solution based on their interests that will be discovered by an online diagnostic test.
As mentioned earlier, the first part of our idea is a half-day seminar. While in school, the students will attend a presentation explaining the stages of grief, what complicated grief is, how to deal with it, how to get treatment, and how to help those with complicated grief.
Once the presentation has ended, the students will attend a workshop where they will get scenarios such as: Hannah is a 16-year-old girl who just lost her mother a year ago in a car accident because of a storm that hit their town. Ever since the accident, she has not been the same. Hannah has been feeling very depressed and blames herself because she feels like she could have told her mom not to drive during the heavy downpour.
From there, the students would answer some questions based on the scenario. For example, is she in grief? What stage of grief is she facing? Is it regular grief or complicated grief? How would you deal with it?
The third stage of our solution is finding it in the real world. Not literally spending all your time searching for complicated grief, but starting to notice changes in friends, family, or anyone that you know.
If the behaviors start connecting to tendencies of complicated grief, you can then take action. You can talk to this person and direct this grieving individual to a trusted friend, adult, or counselor.
Once the person facing with the grief is with a trusted adult or friend, they can identify if it is complicated grief, and from there, the person would take a diagnostic test.
The purpose of the diagnostic test would be to identify the person's interests in order to find a suitable treatment for them.
Once the diagnostic test is completed, the participant would be placed in a category that best fits their interests.
The categories include art, music, athletics, English, and/or STEM.
This is where the sixth and final stage would come in, which is we like to think of as a sort of backwards lobster pot model.
When we say it's like a backwards lobster pot model, we mean we start with the specific category and then go up broad with different solutions related to that category in order to combat the grief.
For example, if someone's tests show that they are into art-related activities and that person happens to like painting, they could paint a picture that could express their emotions with not only the painting, but also the colors they use. The painting can express their emotions, and the colors can show their feelings. Also, if they were more into performance, they could perform an act to express their feelings.
Another example would be if someone tests to show that they prefer English-related activities, and they happen to prefer writing. They could journal their emotions on a daily basis to actually cope with their feelings. By journaling down someone's thoughts and feelings, they are able to understand their emotions and realize what they are facing. Doing so helps remove their grief by acknowledging their pain. Another thing people who prefer English-related activities could do is read. They can read books or articles that relate to their loss, which can open their eyes to see how to deal with complicated grief.
Also, if a person's tests show that they are into athletic activities, they could play a sport that they enjoy in order to remove the stress from complicated grief. When they are playing the sport, they can communicate their anger through playing competitively. Because you are playing a sport, you are getting rid of the many symptoms of grief. According to a Harvard study, by doing an athletic activity you love, you can ease your depression, agitation, lack of motivation, and many other symptoms that come with grief.
By participating in activities that you enjoy, you are combating the emotions that are felt during complicated grief. Combine this with talking to a counselor or a loved one, and the symptoms of complicated grief diminish significantly. According to the Time magazine, if you do what you are good at as often as you can, you will start to feel better because doing things that you love and are good at increase happy thoughts. This is why our way of coping with grief can and will work.
Complicated grief is never easy to manage, and part of this difficulty comes from the fact that everyone handles grief differently. By using our 6 steps, a half-day seminar, a workshop, finding it in the real world, seeking guidance from a professional, a diagnostic test, and personalized solutions, each person is able to receive a best fit treatment to deal with their loss.
Thank you for listening to our proposal on how to deal with complicated grief.
Have a good day!